The strange signal commander Ray was not a man who believed in ghosts or magic. He believed in science and logic and in what his eyes could see. But when his ship picked up a signal from a dead zone in space, even he felt something strange. The signal was soft, like a whisper in the wind. It didn't sound like a normal transmission. It had rhythm, almost like music. But there were no known planets in that area. No colonies, no ships. Nothing. Ray sat alone in the cockpit of his small explorer ship, the Nova Edge. He adjusted the scanner, trying to understand the source of the signal. The machine beeped, showing him a planet. Gray, rocky, cold. It didn't even have a name, only a code. X27 Omega. No life signs, the computer said. But Ray didn't believe it. He could feel something calling him. Against orders, he changed course. Just a quick look, he told himself. I'll be back before anyone knows. The planet's surface was dry and cracked. The sky was dark, filled with thick clouds. His boots hit the ground with a soft thud as he stepped out of the ship, wearing a light armor suit. The air was thin but breathable. There were ruins nearby, tall broken towers made of black stone. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, glowing faintly in blue. Ray walked slowly, touching one of the symbols. It felt warm under his glove. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed in his mind. Please help me. Ray turned quickly. No one was there. The area was silent, dead. He shook his head. Must be the atmosphere, he whispered. But then he heard it again. You hear me? Don't leave. This was not a normal planet. He moved deeper into the ruins. The glow from the symbols became stronger. At the center of the ruin stood a platform, and above it, floating in the air, was a crystal. Inside the crystal, a figure was curled like a sleeping child. It was a girl. No, not a girl. Something else. She had silver skin and long glowing hair that floated like mist. Her eyes were closed. She wasn't human, but she wasn't a monster either. What are you? Ray whispered. Trapped. So long. Please. Ray stepped closer. The voice was coming from her directly into his mind. Her lips didn't move. She was alive. His hands shook slightly as he reached out to touch the crystal. It felt cold, like ice. But then a flash hit his mind. Images of war, of fire, of giant machines destroying cities. He saw her standing on a throne. People bowing, then running, screaming. And then, darkness. Ray pulled his hand back, breathing heavily. She's a princess? He looked around. The ruins, the silence, the signal. It all made sense now. She was calling for help and no one came. Maybe no one could hear her except him. Why me? He asked, unsure if she could answer. You are human. Your mind is open. You are the first to hear me in 300 years. 300 years? Before he could respond, a sharp sound cut through the air. Clank, clank, clank. Ray turned. In the shadows, a red light blinked. Something moved. A machine stepped into view. It was tall, metallic, with sharp legs and a single glowing red eye. A weapon extended from its arm, a defense drone. Ray cursed under his breath and reached for his sidearm. He didn't expect trouble here, but he never traveled unarmed. You must go, the voice screamed in his mind. I can't leave you, he shouted back. The drone fired. Ray jumped to the side, the energy beam missing him by inches. He rolled behind a broken wall and aimed his blaster. He fired once, twice. The shots bounced off the drone's armor. He needed a plan. And fast. The drone moved closer, stepping over the ruins like a spider hunting its prey. Think, Ray. Think. His eyes caught a fallen pillar with glowing symbols. An idea sparked. He ran to the pillar and touched the symbols. They lit up under his hand. The same warm feeling returned, like before. The drone fired again. Ray ducked, but one shot grazed his shoulder. He winced in pain. Then the symbols on the pillar glowed bright white. Boom! A sudden energy blast shot from the ground, hitting the drone directly. It sparked, screamed, and collapsed into the dust. Silence returned. Ray fell to his knees, breathing hard. His shoulder burned, but he was alive. He looked back at the crystal. The girl inside hadn't moved, but he could feel her eyes, inside his mind, watching him. You didn't run. Why? Because someone has to care, he said quietly. And then, the crystal started to glow. The princess in the crystal, the dust settled around Commander Ray. His shoulder still ached from the blast and his breath came in short, sharp bursts. The alien machine was destroyed, but its attack raised more questions than answers. Who had built it? Why was it still active? And more important, who was the girl inside the crystal? Ray turned back toward the floating crystal. It hovered silently above the stone platform, glowing softly in the dark ruins. Inside, the alien girl hadn't moved. Her silver skin shimmered under the dim light. Her eyes remained closed, her hands gently resting over her chest as if she were sleeping or dreaming. But Ray knew better. You can hear me, can't you? He said quietly. A long silence followed. Only the wind whispered through the ruins. Then, the voice returned. Not in his ears, but inside his mind. I hear, you human. It was softer this time, more curious, cautious. Ray stepped closer. Who are you? Why are you trapped in there? The voice paused, then replied, I am Princess Saralyn, daughter of the High Star, ruler of Valenus. He had never heard of such a place. Valenus, once a world of peace, now just ashes. Ray's heart sank. The sadness in her voice was deep, ancient. He felt it like a weight on his chest. Who did this to you? They were called Reapers. They came from beyond the known stars. They don't speak. They don't ask. They only destroy. Suddenly, flashes filled Ray's mind again. Cities burning, ships falling from the sky, giant machines walking through fire, and then a tower, the one he was standing in. But it was whole, shining, full of life. Saralyn stood at the center, wearing royal armor, her eyes glowing with power, and then betrayal, a trusted general, a knife in the back. Reapers storming the palace. She ran, hid, was sealed away. My people are gone, her voice whispered. I was the last light and the light has faded. Ray touched the crystal. Why are you still here? Why not escape? This crystal is a stasis core. It kept me alive. But the key to release it was lost. Until now. What do you mean? Only a mind untouched by war, a human mind, could hear my call. He blinked. You were calling out for hundreds of years? Yes, many passed by. None heard me. Except you? Ray stared into her face, peaceful and still. She looked young, but he sensed age in her, wisdom, pain. His hands trembled. He didn't know what this meant. But he knew one thing. He couldn't leave her here. Then we find a way to free you, he said firmly. Suddenly, the ground beneath him trembled. Dust fell from the broken ceiling. What was that? No answer. Ray turned, blaster ready. The light around the crystal flickered. Symbols on the walls lit up again, this time in red. A soft humming noise filled the air, growing louder and louder. Then a voice. Robotic. Sharp. Unauthorized life form detected. Termination in progress. Ray swore under his breath. Not again. From the far end of the ruins, a wall opened. Mechanical claws reached out, pulling forward a large armored unit, twice the size of the last drone. Its head turned toward Ray, red eyes glowing like burning coals. You've got to be kidding me. He fired his blaster. The shots hit the machine's chest, but had no effect. The machine raised its arm, a spinning energy weapon glowing on its wrist. Ray dived for cover. The blast ripped through stone like paper. He crawled behind a fallen statue, heart pounding. Saralyn, what do I do? The crystal. It's linked to the ruins. Use my light. Touch the platform. Ray didn't hesitate. He jumped from cover and ran for the platform. Another blast shot past him, missing by inches. He slammed his hand down on the glowing platform. Immediately, a shock wave of light pulsed through the ruins. The machine froze. Symbols around the chamber lit up in gold. Sarah Lynn's eyes opened, bright white. The machine screamed and exploded. Ray was thrown backward. He hit the ground hard, stars spinning in his vision. When he opened his eyes, she was standing over him, not floating in a crystal, not trapped. Free. Her hair floated around her like silver flames. Her skin glowed softly. Her eyes were calm, ancient, powerful. "You're real," he said, voice weak. She knelt beside him. "And you are brave. Foolish, but brave." "Welcome back," he said, smiling through the pain. But behind her, in the ruins, a silent signal pulsed into the stars. Far away, something heard it and began to move. The forgotten war. The sky above the ruins had turned a deep red. Thick clouds swirled slowly, as if the world itself had started to wake up from a long, dark sleep. Commander Ray stood in the broken courtyard, eyes locked on Sarah Lynn, the alien, princess who had just stepped out of her crystal prison after 300 years. She looked like a goddess from a lost myth. Her silver skin shimmered under the alien sky. Her eyes glowed with soft light. And yet, her voice, when she spoke, was quiet, gentle. "You shouldn't have come," she said. Ray wiped blood from his cheek, wincing as he stood. "You called for help." I answered. Sarah Lynn turned away, staring at the ruins of what once was her palace. Her eyes filled with something that looked like sorrow and guilt. My call was meant to be silent, a whisper across the stars. I never thought a human would find it. "You don't understand what's coming." Ray walked up beside her. "Then help me understand." For a long time, she said nothing. The wind moved her hair like mist in the air. Then, she raised her hand. "Look." A bright beam shot from her palm, forming a floating image in the air, like a memory brought to life. A galaxy. Millions of stars, planets spinning, life thriving. This was our universe, before the Reapers. Then, the stars began to go dark. One by one, a red fog spread across the star map like blood-soaking paper. They were not born. They were made by an ancient race who wanted to end all emotion, all fear, all weakness. Ray watched, eyes wide, as machines poured from enormous, black ships destroying everything in their path. Alien cities crumbled, suns were swallowed, people screamed without sound. "We fought back," Sarah Lynn whispered. "Our people, the Velinari, were proud, advanced. We were the first to stand against them, and the first to fall." She showed him her family, her mother tall and fierce, her father wise and kind, her brother a warrior, and herself a young ruler with hope in her eyes. When they reached our home, Valenus, we still believed we could win. But the Reapers are not just machines. They learn. They adapt. They grow. She showed him the betrayal again. Her own general, mind-controlled, opening the gates, the Reapers storming the palace, fire raining from the sky. My parents died that day. My brother vanished. I was sealed away. A final plan, to wait, to hide, until a key would come. Ray stared at her. "A key?" Sarah Lynn turned toward him. "You." He stepped back, confused. "Me? Why me?" "Because you're not Velinari. You're human. And humans were our last hope." Ray laughed softly, bitter. "We don't even know what's out there. Our planet barely knows how to leave the solar system." Sarah Lynn smiled faintly. "Yet you came for a stranger, risked your life, bled for someone you didn't know. That is what makes humans dangerous and beautiful." Before Ray could answer, a loud beep echoed from his wrist console. Incoming transmission, unknown origin. He tapped it. The screen flickered. Static, then a voice. "Earth vessel, Nova Edge. This is Command Station Orion. We received your emergency beacon status report. Ray's eyes widened. They found me? But Sarah Lynn's face darkened. You sent a signal? Not on purpose, Ray said. Maybe the platform triggered. A high-pitched sound pierced the air, like metal screaming. Sarah Lynn turned her head sharply. They're here. Who? The Reapers. The signal woke them. They're coming to finish what they started. Before Ray could speak, the ground shook. Massive cracks opened in the stone. From beneath the ruins, black machines began to rise. Not just drones this time, but walkers, long and tall, their limbs like spider legs, eyes glowing crimson, weapons unfolding. Run! Sarah Lynn shouted. They ran through the ruins. Ray fired behind them, but it did nothing. The machines were too strong, too fast. There's an escape tunnel beneath the throne, she said. They slid into a hidden path beneath the palace, the ceiling shaking above them. As they ran, Ray asked, How do we stop them? Sarah Lynn looked back at him. We don't stop them. We survive. And we find the others. What others? She paused. Not all Velinari died. Some fled across the stars. If they're alive, they'll answer my call. And if they're not? Sarah Lynn stopped walking. Her glow dimmed. Her voice was barely a whisper. Then we'll die alone. Meanwhile, somewhere far across the galaxy, a Reaper command ship floated in silence. Thousands of machines stood in rows. A voice, cold, empty, mechanical, spoke. The light has returned, the princess has awakened, send the harvesters, and in the void, a black fleet began to move. The human shield darkness swallowed the escape tunnel. Commander Ray stumbled behind Sarah Lynn as they ran deeper underground. Her body still glowed faintly, casting soft light on the jagged walls. Behind them, the ground shook again, closer this time. The Reapers were hunting. How far does this tunnel go? Ray panted, struggling to keep up. To the mountain edge, Sarah Lynn replied. My ancestors used it to escape during palace sieges. It was never meant for machines. But these weren't ordinary machines. They adapted. They learned. And worst of all, they remembered. The walls around them trembled. Dust rained down. And then, crack, a giant claw burst through the stone behind them. A Reaper drone screeched and slithered through the gap like a mechanical serpent. Ray turned and fired. His blaster, the shots hit, but the drone kept coming. Fast, too fast. Keep going, he yelled. Sarah Lynn hesitated. You can't stop it alone. Oh, just go! He turned and ran the other way, drawing the drone's attention. It followed, red eyes glowing with hunger. The tunnel twisted, narrowed. Ray dove through a low passage, then climbed over fallen debris. The drone smashed through the rock like it was paper. Finally, he reached a dead end. His blaster hissed. Empty. The drone charged. Ray braced for impact. Then, boom, a blast of blue energy hit the drone, sending it crashing against the wall. Ray blinked. Sarah Lynn stood behind him, hand outstretched, eyes glowing white-hot. I told you, she said softly. You don't die alone. They emerged from the tunnel. Hours later, out onto a frozen ridge overlooking the ruins of Valenus. The city below looked like bones. Silent, broken, forgotten. But the stars above them were not silent. Sarah Lynn pointed to the sky. There. 3 ships. Reaper scouts. Ray narrowed his eyes. They found us already. They never stopped, watching. Sarah Lynn knelt and placed her hand on the ground. Glowing lines spread through the rock, forming a symbol. Old, sacred, a beacon. What are you doing? Calling the resistance. If any Velinari still survive, they'll hear this. Ray looked uneasy. And the Reapers? They'll hear it too. But we can't run forever. The beacon pulsed once, twice, then faded. Ray sat on a nearby rock, shoulders heavy with exhaustion. Blood stained his shirt. His arm trembled slightly from the cold and injury. Why am I still alive? He asked. Sarah Lynn looked at him, puzzled. Because I healed you. No. I mean, why me? I'm not special. I'm not strong like you. I'm just a pilot. You're wrong, she said firmly. You are exactly what my people forgot. What the galaxy forgot, he scoffed. And what's that? Humans love without reason. You fight when there's no hope. You care about things no one else would. My people grew powerful, but cold. Your kind is still warm, still burning. Ray chuckled weakly. Great, we're warm and burning. Sounds like we're on fire. Saralyn smiled. Maybe that's what the stars need. That night, they made camp near a cave. A small fire flickered between them. For the first time, the silence was not heavy. Saralyn studied the fire, thoughtful. Before the fall, she said, we thought we were gods. We built cities that floated, ships that moved faster than light. We thought we had nothing left to learn. She looked up at him. But no one ever sacrificed themselves for me. Not once. Not even those sworn to protect me. They ran. Or they hid. You stood between me and death. Ray didn't answer. The flames reflected in his tired eyes. Then the sky exploded. 3 burning streaks fell through the clouds, not meteors, drop pods. They found us, Saralyn whispered. The first pod slammed into the ice valley below. Metal opened. A reaper stepped out, taller than the others, covered in armor that moved like muscle. This one was different, smarter. What is that thing? Ray asked, standing. A harvester, Saralyn replied. They don't kill right away, they take mines. The harvester raised its arm. A beam of red energy swept the ridge. Saralyn cried out. Her knees buckled. Ray grabbed her. What's wrong? It's inside my head. It remembers me. It wants to break me. Ray's jaw clenched. He looked at the cave. She couldn't fight like this. And that thing was coming. He had one choice. Hide here. Stay out of sight, I'll draw it away. No, she said weakly. You'll die. Maybe, he said. But not today. He stepped into the open, holding a blaster in one hand and a flare in the other. He lit the flare and waved it. Hey, over here, you metal freak. The harvester turned. Ray ran. Snow flew behind him. The flare burned bright. The harvester followed, every step shaking the ground. Saralyn watched from the shadows, tears in her eyes. What are you doing, human? Ray reached the edge of a cliff. The harvester caught up. It raised its weapon. Boom, an avalanche. Ray had triggered it. The ice collapsed, burying the harvester beneath tons of snow and rock. Ray barely held onto the edge. A hand grabbed him, Saralyn's. She pulled him up. He coughed and laughed through frozen lips. You came back. Of course, she said. You're my shield. In orbit above Velenisa, Black Ship arrived. Inside, the Reaper command node lit up. Target confirmed, human anomaly. Designation, Ray, capture alive. Priority, Alpha. And the machines began to move. The awakenings now still covered the mountain like a thick, frozen grave. Ray lay inside the cave, wrapped in a torn thermal blanket, his body trembling from the cold. His skin was pale, his breath shallow. His wound had reopened during the avalanche, and now infection spread beneath the surface. Saralyn sat beside him, hands glowing, but the light was flickering. Unstable. Hold on, she whispered. Just a little longer. But she wasn't sure he could hear her anymore. His eyes were half-closed, lips cracked. You still here? Always, she said, her voice breaking. You saved me again. He tried to smile. You're worth it. Saralyn's hands began to glow brighter now. Too bright. Her fingers trembled deep within her. Something ancient stirred. Memories not just of her life, but of her people's lost power. The crown light. The gift of the royal bloodline. A power that could shape matter, heal, destroy, rebuild. Once it flowed through every ruler of Velenis. But when her world fell, so did the light. Until now. She closed her eyes, focused. The cave faded, the sound of wind gone. In her mind, she stood in a great hall made of stars. Her ancestors stood before her, ghosts of the past wearing golden armor, holding staffs of burning light. You carry our blood, one of them spoke. But blood is not enough. I want to save him, Saralyn said. He is only one life. No, she said firmly. He is the first life to stand for me, the first to fall for me, and if I let him die, then I am not worthy of the throne or the crown light. The ghosts looked at one another, then they bowed. Then awaken, child of Valenus. Light exploded from within her. Outside across the planet's ruins, every remaining Reaper ship paused, their sensors spiked. Energy readings surged. A forgotten signature, long buried, had returned, crown light detected. In the cave, Saralyn's entire body began to glow. Symbols appeared on her skin, ancient runes of her people, flowing with golden fire. She placed her hand on Ray's chest. The light spread into him. His body arched, mouth open in a silent scream. The infection burned away. His veins lit up with white-blue energy. Pain surged through him, but also strength. When he opened his eyes, he gasped. What was that? Part of me, Saralyn said, tears running down her face. I gave you the last of my crown light. Ray sat up, confused. The last? She nodded. I used it to bring you back, but now I can't use it again, not fully, not without breaking. You sacrificed it for me? You were willing to die for me. I had to be willing to live for you. As dawn rose over the broken mountains, they knew hiding was no longer an option. Ray's communicator beeped again, this time not a distress call, but a warning. A human outpost orbiting near Saturn had picked up something strange, an unknown fleet moving through the outer systems. Not just a few ships, hundreds. The Reapers were no longer hunting, they were invading. Earth is next, Ray said quietly. Saralyn stood beside him, her face hard now. Then we must get to them first. How? We don't even have a ship. She turned to him, eyes glowing faintly again. We build one. 2 days later, they returned to the heart of the ruins, where the palace once stood. Beneath the rubble, under layers of stone and ash, lay something ancient. The Star Spire, an unfinished ship once built for the royal family. This is our only chance, Saralyn said. Ray climbed through the remains of the craft. Looks like a flying museum. Then let's bring it back to life. Using her fading knowledge and the ship's auto-core memory, they began to rebuild. Ray wired systems. Saralyn reactivated old engines. They found forgotten weapon caches, shielding units, alien fuel cells, and deep in the ship's vault, a throne-like pilot chamber. This ship responds only to royal blood, Saralyn said, but now it listens to you too. Me? You carry part of my light, she said. Part of my people. Ray didn't know what that meant, but he understood this much. If he didn't fight, no one would. Later that night, they stood at the edge of the ruins. The Star Spire was nearly ready, but the sky had already changed. Red lights glowed on the horizon. Reaper dropships, hundreds. They're here, Ray said. They came faster than expected. Saralyn didn't blink. They always do. Ray checked his blaster. We can't hold this place. We don't need to, she said. Just hold them long enough to get the ship in the sky. He turned to her, quietly. You're not coming with me, are you? She didn't answer. Instead, she handed him something small, a crystal. Her memory core. Take this to your people. Show them who I was, who the Reapers are, and why we must stand together. You're not dying. Here, Ray said. I already died once. This time I choose it. Saralyn. But she kissed his forehead gently. Remember me, human. Not as a princess, but as the first alien who saw your species as light. Ray launched the Star Spire under heavy fire. Saralyn remained behind, standing tall among the ruins as the Reapers closed in. And then, a flash of light so bright it turned night into day. She became pure energy, the last Velinari, burning like a star. Somewhere near Earth, Orbit Ray's ship exited hyperspace. His eyes were red, his hands tight. On the controls behind him, a storm was coming, but ahead was hope. And humanity was about to remember what it meant to fight for more than just survival. They were going to fight for someone who believed in them. The last stand space was no longer quiet. For centuries, humanity believed it was alone, or at least lucky to be forgotten. But when the first Reaper fleet entered the solar system, all doubts vanished. They came not to talk, not to threaten, but to finish what they started long ago on a world now turned to dust. Earth was next, and no one was ready. In orbit, defense satellites sparked to life. Warships scrambled from Mars stations. Panicked transmissions filled every frequency. But there were no demands, no messages from the invaders, just silence. Cold, calculating, final, and then a voice cut through the static. "This is Commander. Ray of the Starspire. I bring warning and a chance." Ray stood on the bridge of the Starspire, staring down at the blue planet below. It looked peaceful, but fear pulsed across every continent. Behind him, the ship's systems hummed with alien tech, still learning from him. Part human, part Velinari, powered by the crown light once carried by a fallen princess. He held the crystal in his palm. Sarah memory core. He hadn't spoken her name in hours. Couldn't. Not without his voice breaking. Instead, he focused on what came next. "You will not take Earth," he whispered. "Not while I still breathe." Below, on Earth's surface, governments argued, militaries prepared, and civilians watched the skies with terrified eyes, until the first Reaper dreadnought entered atmosphere, 10 kilometers wide. Black metal like bone. No engines, no wings, just falling, like judgment. It landed in the Sahara. The impact created a shockwave felt across 3 continents. Dozens more followed. Reaper machines poured out, massive walkers, spiked drones, harvesters, mind scanners. Towers rose like claws from the ground, rewriting air and earth into something alien. In less than 12 hours, 6 major cities fell. Tokyo, Berlin, Cairo, Lagos, New York, Buenos Aires, and then silence again. Fear had never moved this fast, but from the ashes rose resistance. Ray landed the Starspire on the outskirts of a devastated London. Smoke filled the skies. Fires burned without control. A few hundred survivors gathered around him. Soldiers, engineers, medics, even children holding rifles too. Big for their hands, they expected a miracle. Instead, they got a man who had already lost everything. "Listen to me," Ray said, standing atop a broken monument. "You think this is the end, but it's not. I've seen the end. I've walked through the bones of a world that thought it couldn't fall, and I've seen what stands against them." He held up the crystal. Her name was Sarah. She was a princess, a warrior, an alien, and she believed in us. Not because we were strong, but because we never stopped fighting. He looked out at the crowd. No longer just a man, but a torch lit by a fallen star. "We don't run. Not today. Because if we fall now, we take her dream with us." A murmur spread through the survivors. Then a shout. Then a roar. In the hours that followed, a new force was born. Earth's last shield. Powered by Velinari technology and human stubbornness, Ray trained resistance teams to use the ship's remaining energy weapons. He unlocked shield barriers to protect cities. He flew missions into occupied zones, stealing back prisoners. He became legend in weeks. But legends don't last forever. On the 22nd day of the invasion, something changed. The sky above Earth cracked, a black ship larger than any before descended. Not a harvester, not a drone, a mind core. The command AI of the Reaper swarm. Ray's sensors screamed. This ship didn't want to kill humans. It wanted to erase them. The AI spoke at last. "Unit Ray. Anomaly. Surrender. Return Crown Light memory, or extinction will be accelerated." He stared at the crystal in his hand. Sarah's voice whispered inside. "Don't give them anything." Ray looked at Earth, at the people now standing behind him, at the children watching from bunkers, at the old soldiers who had nothing left but one bullet and their pride. "You want this?" he said into the comm. "Come take it." And so came the final siege, a full-scale ground assault on the Starspire's location. Scotland now buried in ash, wind, and fire. Mountains shook. Machines marched. Ray stood in front, leading a last defense. Not from behind, but at the front line. His armor was scorched, his hands bleeding. The Velinari markings on his arms glowed like fire. He wasn't just human anymore. He was something new. At the climax of the battle, the Mind Core descended. It hovered over the battlefield, speaking with no emotion. "You are the echo of a dead race. We are the future. You are waste." Ray raised the memory crystal. "She called us light. You call us waste. That's the difference between creation and destruction." The AI unleashed a pulse that disintegrated the terrain. Ray ran through it, charging with a Velinari blade powered by Saralin's energy. The moment was silent. Then, impact. He drove the blade into the Mind Core's heart, a blinding explosion. Everything went white. Hours passed. Dust settled, and from the rubble a figure rose, half-burned, armor cracked. Ray, alive. Barely. The Reaper machines fell around him, shutting down. Earth was silent again. But it wasn't empty. Cheers erupted. People emerged. From bunkers, sky towers collapsed, and above, for the first time in weeks, stars returned. Later, a monument was built in the ashes of the battlefield, a simple statue of a man standing beside a glowing crystal. The plaque read, "He stood for one. He stood for all." And inside the Starspire's vault, a voice whispered, "Ray, I knew you'd survive." Saralin's final memory, still watching, still waiting, because the galaxy was waking up. And the war wasn't over. Not yet. The human who saved a galaxy. The war was over. Or at least, this war. Earth had survived the impossible. The Reaper fleet was broken, their Mind Core shattered. The machines, once unstoppable, now lay frozen on scorched ground like statues of a forgotten empire. But victory had not come without cost. Cities were lost, oceans poisoned, billions displaced, and the man who led the resistance, who stood between extinction and existence, was no longer the same. Ray sat alone inside the Starspire, orbiting Earth, watching the blue planet heal. His arm was half metal now. His skin bore alien runes. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. He was human. And something more. But all he could think of was her. Saralin, the alien princess who gave him her power, her trust, and her final breath. Her crystal sat on the console, before him, still glowing, still warm, like a heartbeat that refused to fade. Every night he heard her voice. "You were never ordinary." 1 month later, the galaxy began to stir. It started with a signal, not from Earth, but from far beyond the known systems. A frequency only Velinari tech could decode. If you can hear this. We survived. The Velinari were alive. Scattered. Hidden. But not extinct. Ray answered. He used the Starspire to send a message through deep space, broadcasting Saralin's memory, her final stand, her belief in humanity, and his promise. We will not repeat the past. We will build something better. Together. 2 months later, 3 alien ships appeared in orbit. Not Reapers, survivors. The Velinari resistance. A few ships, wounded, old, but alive. When they boarded the Starspire, they bowed, not to the ship, but to Ray. "We thought our bloodline ended with Saralin," one said, his voice choked with awe. "But she gave her light to you. That makes you family." Ray didn't answer. He only opened his hand and revealed her crystal. And for the first time since Valenus fell, her people wept. Earth changed after that. The world once locked in its own problems suddenly became a symbol across the stars. Ambassadors arrived, Not just Velinari, but others, races long hiding from reapers. Old enemies became allies. Old myths became memories again. A new alliance was formed, not under one empire, not under one species, but under a promise. Never again. They called it the Shield Concord, and its first commander was a human. Ray stood before the Council of Worlds, older now, hardened, his armor worn and his voice quiet but strong. Behind him, a new fleet, built with human resilience and alien wisdom. Ships powered by both technology and memory, faster, stronger, but never built for conquest, built to protect. We were blind, he said. We thought we were alone. We thought strength meant silence. But now we know better. He looked out over thousands, humans, Velinari, even insectoid and crystalline races, watching him. Saralyn believed in us. So now we carry her dream. We fight not because we love war, but because we love peace. The chamber roared with approval. But peace, as always, was fragile. Beyond the edge of the galaxy, something stirred. An old signal reactivated. A dark one, not Reaper, but something older. A force that once created the Reapers, and then abandoned them. A whisper echoed through deep space. They have united. They must be broken again. In the war room of the Starspire, Ray stood alone, staring into the stars. He pressed the crystal to his chest. It flickered, then glowed, revealing her image. Saralyn as she was. Alive. Laughing. Hopeful. He whispered, "I wish you could see this." And, her voice returned, soft and eternal, "I already do." Years later, children across galaxies study history hollows. They learn of a time when machines tried to erase emotion, and failed. They learn of a planet called Earth once ignored, now respected. And they learn of a man, not a king, not a soldier, but a pilot who heard a whisper in the dark and chose to care. His name was Ray, and in every language across the stars, he is remembered the same way, the human who saved a galaxy.